Hello, and welcome to Biohacking with Brittany. I am so grateful that you are listening today. My name is Brittany Ford for everybody who's new, and I am a biohacker, content creator, podcaster, mama to be, and all the things under the sun, holistic nutritionist. I specialize more into women's health and specifically biohacking fertility right now. And so this is kind of the space that I'm in. Today is all about gut health, and my gosh, what a big episode, and also what a big topic in general. I feel like gut health has been so popular in the last 5 to 10 years. Everyone talks about it. It has become such a cornerstone in the wellness and self-care community, which I think is a really good thing. I know so much about gut health now, way more than I used to know. And it's not just from my own education. It's just from what I hear on podcasts and people talk about, the products I use. And so we dive into, the wellness, the trend of gut health today and why it's become popular, what are typical symptoms that you can experience if you have gut issues, and why it can be ultimately the root cause for so many other health issues. I have been through many gut health issues when I was younger, and I was able to heal from them. And really through that initial journey of gut problems was how I fell in love with natural health. And I do talk about that a bit in this episode as well. So if you're somebody who is kind of struggling in this gut space and you think your gut might be the reason why you are not feeling great or looking great or not performing at your best, then this episode is definitely for you. I want to do a DM of the week. I love that you guys send me DMs on Instagram. I love doing this on the show, little feature that I'm doing. I didn't do it on last week's or the episode on Tuesday because I was going through one of the most recent research studies I found that I was very interested in. But today we are back with DM of the week. And this one I haven't I've kind of like scanned it. Honestly, I haven't read the whole thing. So I also kind of like reading them live because it's a little spicy and like, who knows what they're going to say. And it's cool to like give you my real reaction. So that's nice as well. So this woman wrote to me last night, and I keep everyone anonymous. And if you want me to read your DM, you can send me a DM on Instagram. And I do this because I think reviews of podcasts are boring and nobody cares. And so I think the DMs are so much more interesting, and it doesn't have to be about the podcast. It can be about your health journey or something you've read or like feedback or something about the biohacking community or anything like that. Like the DM of the week feature is really just like a DM I get that I'm like, oh, I want to share this. This is interesting. It has nothing to do with like 5-star review. Like I just think that's overplayed and boring. So this is what I'm doing now. Okay. This woman writes, "Hi, Brittany. I just listened to your second trimester podcast. I feel so seen. Thank you so much for being so vulnerable about your experience with weight gain. I resonated so much with your experience. I have felt exactly the same whilst having to gain weight to get my period back in order to conceive. I have always been slim and exercised regularly. I had COVID in 2022 and my period came back irregular. It has since come back, but with that came quite a bit of weight gain. I have felt in such a strange place between wanting to get back to my normal weight and appearance, but also wanting to make sure my body feels safe enough for conception. The latter of which I think is most important, and I'm learning to love my body as it is, but I found it so hard seeing the changes and not feeling as attractive as I used to. It's so comforting to hear others' journeys with this too, and makes me feel just that bit less alone in how I'm feeling. Thank you very much for everything you share. I really hope your birth goes to plan, and I can't wait to hear all your updates with the rest of your pregnancy journey and biohacks. P.S. I'm taking a break from Instagram, but just had to re-download this to send you a message. Thank you, thank you, thank you." Oh, that's so cute. I love that. Thank you so much for that long DM. That was really nice. And yes, so if you don't know what she's referring to, I did a second trimester podcast episode of realities versus expectations and how it really went for me. I did this with first trimester, and I will be doing this with third trimester as well. And one of the biggest things that I struggled with in the first half of second trimester was weight gain. As somebody, like she said, who's naturally slim, to gain weight but not yet look fully pregnant was very difficult on my mental health. It's really hard to explain to people who haven't been pregnant, but essentially you just kind of, everything kind of softens and you gain weight, you gain fat, I had less definition everywhere, less tone, my boobs got bigger, all these things, but I didn't have like a bump. There was no round bump. And it was really hard because I felt uncomfortable in my own skin. And I explained that in the episode. And I'm so glad that resonated with her, because I wish that I had heard that from more people before I got pregnant. I wish that I knew that was something that was going to happen and come. Somebody who has never gained weight like this before, I didn't know it was going to impact me as much as it did. It really, really did impact me. Like, you can't wear your clothes as much and they look different. And it was hard to wrap my head around it for quite a while there. So anyway, listen to that podcast episode. I really suggest you download it or send it to somebody who you know is pregnant, because it could be really what they need to hear. There's a lot of mental sticky things that happen when you're pregnant, and that's one of them for a lot of women. So kudos to you. Shout out to you. Thank you so much for this DM. And I really appreciate it. And I could only imagine going through that similar thing of okay, I've gained weight and conception and fertility is so important to me, but I also want to be this certain size. And I understand that, for everyone who knows me or who listens, I was on a fertility journey for, I don't even know, oh my gosh, how many years was it? 2020 to 2023? Something like that. It was about 3 years of dealing with mild PCOS, regulating my cycle, and then trying to become as healthy as I could be before we started trying to conceive. And it's tough because weight is definitely a part of that. My recommendation to you, and I talk about this in my baby steps course, and if you're the woman who sent this DM, you are the perfect candidate for my course, so you should take it, is to be in the healthy BMI range, because that is the best for fertility. I was in the low section of the BMI range. And if you are right now in the low section of the BMI range, I would say good job. You're great. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. It's the issues come when you're in the underweight, low BMI, that it relates to hormones and fertility. So we really want to kind of keep clear from that. I don't know the numbers. I'd have to double check. So kind of do that calculation, kind of see where you're at and go from there. And then also, of course, you're already doing, tap into your menstrual cycle, right? How is it? Is it regular? How is your period? Is it really heavy? Is it really light? Are you tracking your ovulation? Are you ovulating every single cycle? That's huge. That's so important, obviously, for conception. And I talk about that in my course. So I think that there's a balance that can come there between wanting to be a certain size or look a certain way, but also wanting to conceive. But give yourself grace and a lot of self-love, because it's definitely going to be a journey, if you get pregnant, and then you have to kind of go through that gaining more weight once you're pregnant as well, which is what I did, which every woman goes through, is you gain weight when you're pregnant. So yeah, I encourage you to kind of find that right zone for you and what you think is best. So thank you for your DM. I really appreciate it. And a shout out to the sponsors of this week, Bioptimizers. You guys love Bioptimizers. So funny. They have this new drink out. I literally actually am staring at it right now. It's called Mushroom Breakthrough. I'm drinking the salted caramel flavor. Yes, I have this while I'm pregnant. And yes, I would recommend this to people while they're pregnant. Essentially, it is a blend of mushrooms that really, really help your brain to turn on all lights firing. Mushrooms in general do this, right? So you think of reishi, lion's mane, these functional mushrooms. And they put it into a delicious drink formula. And I add it to coconut milk. And I love this because I can't do a lot of caffeine right now. I don't want the crash, but I want to feel like I'm getting through my day. I have steam, like things are getting done. I have memory recall. I'm able to focus. I'm not procrastinating. And that's exactly what this does. Doesn't have any crappy sweeteners in it, nothing like that. And it is a completely clean product that I recommend. So that's called Mushroom Breakthrough from Bioptimizers. 3 flavors, salted caramel, chai, and chocolate. My favorite is chai, but they're all really, really good. So what I call it now is so cute. Every afternoon when we're working, my husband and I'll say like, oh, like let's make mushroom milk is what I call it. And then I'll make it. So I put like 2 glasses on the counter. I put some milk in, and then I put 2 scoops in each glass. And then I put the rest of the milk in so it doesn't stick to the bottom. And then I have these little like handheld frothers, like you kind of get when you buy like matcha or something like that. And I just like let it froth it up. And then I drink it around 2:00 every day. And it's like, oh, the best. If you have afternoon slump, this is for you. I can't even recommend it enough. I'm just going on and on. So try that. Use my discount code biohackingbrittany or my link, whatever you want, and it will get you a discount off of it. Actually, it gets you a discount off of all of their products, which is great too. And then a shout out to Mimeo. This is a fantastic product for everybody who cares about cellular health and longevity. And it mimics a 36-hour fast. Wow, that's a lot. So, as you know, especially if you're a woman, fasting can be a little detrimental to your health if it's done too much. It can be too stressful in the body. It can impact your hormones, your menstrual cycle, fertility, absolutely, if you overdo it. We really don't want that. But there are a ton of cellular health benefits that come from fasting through autophagy, through cleaning up old cells, getting them out, bringing the new ones in. And that's really what fasting is about, is like longevity. So I always say when I talk to women about fasting is like, if I was in menopause or post-menopause, I would be intermittent fasting probably every single day. Probably do like the 18 hours type of thing. Because at that point, the hormones are completely different. You have no cycle, fertility is not a thing, and you can get the complete benefit. Until then, that I can't do that regimen. It's too much on my health. But you can take something like Mimeo, which mimics those benefits through 4 different ingredients that they have. So it's OEA, PEA, spermidine, and nicotinamide. So definitely check that out if you want those benefits. Like I said previously, I think everyone should kind of be on something like that. We all need to be thinking about longevity and cellular health, not just older people, not just people who are sick, everybody, because it can help prevent accelerated aging. It can help prevent sickness. So think about that. You can use my discount code again, biohackingbrittany. Thanks so much, guys, for supporting the show, by the way. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being interested in my sponsors. I don't accept everybody. I only accept brands that I actually take their products of. So means a lot to me. And thank you so much. Enjoy this episode. I put out new episodes every Tuesday and Friday, and you can catch another one next week. Welcome to Biohacking with Brittany. I am thrilled that you are listening today to another episode. We are going to be diving deep into the world of gut health, and I have a distinguished guest with me, Taylor Knese, who is a board-certified nurse practitioner and functional health consultant with over 13 years of experience in healthcare, joining us. I'm really excited about this because gut health is actually how I got started on my own health journey many years ago as well. I kind of basically figured out, the gut is the root cause and went down this deep rabbit hole. And that was kind of my beginnings very similarly. So Taylor, welcome to the show. And I can't wait to hear about your story.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Brittany. I'm so excited to be here today.
Yeah. So was your, initial draw to gut health very similar? Like, how did you first even start hearing about it? How did you learn about the gut? Like, where did it all come from?
Yeah. So initially, believe it or not, I was not drawn to the gut, but being in conventional medicine, that wasn't really even on my radar. But as you mentioned, a lot of us fall into gut health by going through all of our own health journeys. And that's exactly what happened with me is I went through my own healing journey where I was experiencing some really honestly horrific symptoms and couldn't understand or even start to grasp where they had started or where they came from. And it was really through those health struggles and eventually landing in the lap of gut health that I then figured out how to heal myself.
Nice. Yeah. And so what were the kind of like symptoms or what were you kind of seeing that you didn't really understand at the time?
Yeah. So at the time, I had just had my daughter. This was like, let's take it back circa 2017. And so I had just had my daughter and I had had some previous trauma that really came back like a ton of bricks. And that's really what kind of, I truly believe what was the root cause for a lot of the gut dysfunction that started within me. But I began to struggle with a lot of fatigue, so much joint pain that it was difficult to get out of bed. And then I had been diagnosed with adult onset asthma, which is highly unusual, and also psoriasis. So I had really bad plaque psoriasis on my scalp that had started. And as we both know, that starts in the gut. But the symptoms in and of themselves, they weren't always just focused on the digestive system. I was struggling a lot with diarrhea and constipation, heartburn, food sensitivities, but I also want to bring like focus to the fact that it was also a lot of systemic symptoms as well that I was struggling with.
Yeah, I love that you said that. When I was having my own gut health symptoms, it was very kind of similar. Like it actually wasn't just digestive, it was showing up in different ways. So for me, my hair was falling out and thinning, and I was having a lot of brain fog and like struggling to concentrate in school. And so those symptoms could be anything. Like there could be anything that's going on in the body. So it took a long time to eventually be like, oh, this is related to your gut, your diet, your stress, all of these other things that are impacting your gut. And I really feel for people who are having these symptoms that aren't just digestive because it's so confusing. Like for you, if it's skin, or for me, if it's hair, you're not going to turn to the gut as the first, place to look. So how do you kind of guide people now who maybe have similar stories and, they don't really understand how this can be connected to the gut?
Yeah. So about just a few months ago, I've officially left conventional medicine, which is bittersweet, right? Because we all get into medicine for the right reason. But now I'm mainly focused in my business. And so the way that I really bring a flashlight onto those symptoms, I connect it back for them. So whether that's just through sharing my story or through social media or specifically working with my clients, I help them make those connections because like you're not going to get a rash or acne and be like, oh, you know what? It's my gut. The normal person is not going to think that's connected. And so I think that's where we really come in the education space, and exactly like what we're doing here on the podcast is just making that connection for people. Because I wish someone would have made that connection for me years ago. Because it took me like a good 5 or 6 years of struggling with symptoms for them to completely resolve. And I bet I would have healed a lot sooner had someone have brought that information to the forefront for me and made that connection.
Yeah, I say the same thing. It took me a few years to figure it out. And it was, gut health is like quite a popular topic now, but it wasn't like that at that time.
Exactly.
So it wasn't this like trend that I could just search up on Instagram and suddenly understand it. Like it wasn't at that point where it's at now. And so it definitely took a while to kind of connect those dots. But if someone's listening to this and they're thinking, okay, maybe I have these symptoms and I can't explain them, so maybe they are gut health or gut issues, how can they, what would you say are maybe the common early signs of gut health issues that you've seen a lot with the people that you have worked with?
Yeah, a lot of the early signs and symptoms tend to be some of the more vague ones. The brain fog, the fatigue, maybe a little bit of anxiety, abnormal stools, just feeling a little bit off after meals. A huge one is food sensitivities. That's a real big red flag that your gut health is starting to break down, is starting to become sensitive to foods that you used to be able to enjoy. New onset sensitivities later on in life aren't normal. It means there's something going on inside of the gut. So really, whenever we think of the early symptoms, there are sometimes more of the ones that aren't necessarily ones you'd think of as related to the gut. We think of food sensitivities. Oh, you know what I need to do? I need to go get a food sensitivity test. I got to go see an allergist. I got to figure out what I'm allergic to. People automatically think it's their immune system. And sure, it is, but it's originating in the gut. So those are some of the more of the early signs where if you can get on top of your gut health, whenever you start experiencing some of these small whispers that your body is telling you, you can stop it and reverse it before it turns into screams. And you really end up with these debilitating symptoms.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And I think what you said about the food sensitivities is very interesting. Like that you typically don't like make or create or have new food sensitivities on later on in life. Like that is something that I haven't really heard much of or even really thought much of. And so say somebody is like suddenly reacting to gluten, for example, or soy or eggs, something like that. And they figure it out by maybe doing an elimination diet, or maybe they do a food sensitivity test and they figure it out. Okay, hey, it's like these eggs. I'm reacting to this. What can they then do? Like, and we're assuming they're an adult, like 30, 25 plus, whatever, 20 plus, whatever age you want to say. What can they then do with this new onset of this symptom with this specific food?
Yeah. So when you start to notice food sensitivities, I think the first thing you should do is recognize that the problem is not your body. There's not some abnormality that your body is coming up with this sudden immune reaction. There's something happening within you, within your gut, that's causing that. I think it's important to recognize that our body isn't misfiring all of a sudden. There's an actual problem going on that can be fixed. So that's the first step. Second step is actually working to eliminate that food from your diet temporarily to drive down inflammation. Certainly, if we're reacting to a food, we're getting symptoms from a food, we don't just want to keep it in our diet. We want to temporarily eliminate it to help with the inflammation and the symptoms we're experiencing. Third, we want to actually identify imbalances within the microbiome. Okay, what's going on in here? What are we seeing? What is contributing to the inflammation and the breakdown of our gut lining? Because whenever we talk about food sensitivities, that's where they're coming from. They're coming from the breakdown of the gut lining. So, and we can kind of dive into that. But that last step is going to be correcting the imbalances and healing and sealing the gut lining so that this way we're no longer experiencing the food sensitivity. We're no longer having the immune reaction to the food we're eating. And then from there, we can go from that restriction to resilience where we can actually start to add those foods back. And it's a really beautiful process and thing to watch with clients whenever they get to start eating those foods again.
Let's talk about Mimeo, a breakthrough longevity supplement that hacks your biology to help you look and feel younger. It was created by PhDs in nutrition from over 7 years of clinical research, and Mimeo was designed to mimic the longevity benefits of fasting in a simple daily pill. Not only has Mimeo been shown to extend lifespan in animals by 96%, but users have been able to take as much as 2.5 years off their biological age in just 8 weeks. How? Mimeo's groundbreaking biomimetic formula uses a patented blend of all natural metabolites that work together to help your cellular health from the inside out. First, there's OEA, which is a metabolic supercharger clinically proven to help control appetite and promote fat metabolism, so you can crush those cravings and silence food noise throughout the day. Then there's spermidine, the cellular autophagy activator, helping clear out cellular junk to boost cognition, clear brain fog, and refresh your cells. Next, there's nicotinamide, a broad spectrum NAD+ booster that's been shown to improve everything from metabolism to skin glow to immune health. And lastly, there's PEA, one of the body's most powerful rest and repair molecules that helps control inflammation, relieve discomfort, and enhance recovery so you can get that youthful energy back. Mimeo is designed to work like a super fast, super efficient fasting diet, but without actually having to fast. It's all about tapping into the power of your own biology, giving your body the cheat code to work its best, making you feel younger and healthier today. You can try Mimeo today. Use my discount code at checkout, which is biohackingbrittany, and you can get all of these benefits in a simple supplement today. Again, that's biohackingbrittany in all capitals. So definitely try it and let me know what you think. Nice. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I went through such a similar journey of realizing that I had leaky gut syndrome. My lining of my gut was very impaired and there were holes, and we did like a live blood cell analysis test, and you could see the protein that was slipping through the gut lining in my blood and causing inflammation. And then you think, oh wow, like this is actually happening. And then so it's exactly like you said, like, sure, you can eliminate the food and never eat it again, but you actually need to seal those holes. Like you have to repair the lining. Like there has to be some sort of like mechanism there to kind of make it robust again. So how do you recommend people go about that? Like I have my own ways that I did, but I'm curious to hear what you recommend.
As far as healing and sealing the gut lining? Yeah. So it kind of goes back to that two-prong approach. And it's the approach that I take with all of my clients. And really, actually, let's take it a step further. It's really a three-prong approach. So identify the root causes. What led to the breakdown of the lining in the first place? Was it a stressful lifestyle? Is it really bad nervous system regulation because we have complex trauma we haven't healed from? Is it that we're not getting good sleep? Is it that we're eating crap processed foods and we're, exposing ourselves to so many toxins throughout the day? You have to identify that root cause, and we'll come back to that. Second, we want to identify those imbalances. So GI mapping, I'm sure, is something you've done, you're super familiar with. It is microbiome testing, just for the listeners who may not know. Identifies all of the bacteria within your microbiome that are helping support the lining, right? So we want to identify what's imbalanced here. Is there overgrowth of bacteria that's causing inflammation that's leading to the breakdown? Is it that we don't have the necessary bacteria that produce the mucus that protect the lining? Is that we don't have the bacteria that helps with cellular turnover? We have to identify what imbalances are there, right? And so that's kind of where I start with my clients, is really trying to figure out what's the root cause, how can we start working on that while simultaneously working to rebalance any kind of bacterial imbalances within the microbiome. And then once we do that, then we can come in and heal and seal. And it's really focused on a lot of nutrition and lifestyle modification. And there are temporary supplements that can be really beneficial for helping rebuild that lining. And then once you're able to do that, you've simultaneously worked on the root causes. And while doing that, you've made sure you've set yourself up for success, that you're not going to end up right back where you started. And that's where the gold is.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I had a similar approach. And like, it's funny when you're listing all of the things that can cause an impaired lining. And when I was going through gut health issues, like I had all of them, like terrible diet, was drinking a lot of alcohol at that time in my life, like very stressed, trauma, blah, 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 all of these things. And it really takes a toll on your body in a way that you might not see or you might not fully understand until it accumulates, kind of like we're talking about with these symptoms. And so I understand a lot of what you're saying, but it's hard for people listening who maybe have serious gut health issues, because you really need to do like a full 360 approach on your life in order to actually optimize your gut. Like you can't just throw a probiotic supplement at it and think, oh, we're done. Like I'm good. I don't have gut health issues anymore. And sometimes when you educate clients or people that, hey, this is going to be a lot of time, effort, and money, but it's going to be worth it, like they actually don't want to necessarily hear that.
They don't. And I think it goes back to what a lot of health coaches and people in the wellness industry that really we admire. Choose your hard. Do you want to be, miserable with your symptoms you're currently experiencing? Do we want to end up with chronic disease later on in life? That's hard too. Or do we want to choose the hard now to optimize the systems to make sure that we're resilient moving forward in our lives? And I think that's like where the biohacking really comes in, is do we want to set ourselves up for a healthy life? Do we want to put in the work? We have to choose our hard.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like there's a quote, I'm forgetting what it is. It's like an ounce of prevention is worth like a pound of something. Like there's some sort of like medical quote. I'm totally botching it. But basically, it's exactly what you're saying is like, it's so much easier to do little things today to prevent big issues coming in the future than when they are here and then you suddenly have to try and heal them.
Absolutely.
Right. And so I think that's like really where you come in as a coach and helping these clients is like, let's help prevent those, or let's help prevent your current condition from getting any worse as well. A couple of things I'll say just on the gut lining piece is I really used a couple of supplements that actually did help a lot. So I used aloe vera juice. I don't know if that's one that you recommend, but I was drinking that for so long and that made a really big difference in actually healing the gut lining. And I think it's because of the L-glutamine that's inside of it. I know some people take L-glutamine separately as a powder, but that was kind of my go-to and what my naturopath recommended. Have you had any success with that?
Definitely have had success with aloe vera. I love aloe vera just in general as a plant. Love it. And I love all of its gut health benefits. It's really easy to add it into your daily routine as well. I do tend to lean on supplements in the beginning and then adding in more nutritional support, such as aloe vera juice later on in the protocol, so that this way people don't feel as overwhelmed. As you mentioned, it can be a really 360 approach. And so in the beginning, I find I have clients lean on supplements as we're learning the nutrition and the lifestyle. So, yeah. Some of those supplements I really like. I really like GI Revive. Obviously, I have to caveat, like, this is not medical advice, but GI Revive is a great one. I would say like 90% of my clients respond very well to it. Has a lot of those really good mucilaginous herbs in it, as well as gut lining rebuilding as well.
Nice. Yeah. I've seen that one before and I've also heard really great things about it. In terms of, women's gut health versus men, I don't know this and I want to pick your brain about this. Do you see a difference in your research, clients, everything that you do between that? Or would you say it's kind of the same regardless of gender at this point?
It really just depends. I would say, as far as certain bacterial overgrowths, I don't really see a difference. I will say that I do see more toxin overload in women. And we can see that through beta glucuronidase levels that we're looking at on GI maps. And obviously we can dive into that, but there's a lot to do with the estrobolome and how that affects it. But typically we see more, or I see more inflammation and more toxin overload in women, which makes sense, right? We have to think about all of the things that women are using on their bodies, spraying to smell good, spraying in their hair. There's lots of different products that we're using. But all of those things, as I mentioned earlier, add up to a lot of inflammation in the body and lead to the gut lining being disrupted. Whereas in men, frequently I see, believe it or not, a lot of their dysfunction is related to poor sleep and nervous system dysregulation. I see a lot more of that in men.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, it doesn't surprise me about the toxin overload with women. The like amount of products a woman uses versus a man is so different, from like personal care to makeup, hair, all of that. And then also even cleaning products. Like
Oh,
I just, there's,
horrible.
it's horrible. And in those products, there are so many toxins that are endocrine disruptors. They wreak havoc on our hormones. They cause inflammation. And luckily, things have become much more green or clean at now. So there's way more options on the market than there used to be. But I still think a lot of people just choose the cheap, bleach or whatever, Tide cleaning products or whatever that they want to, wash their clothes in. So I definitely see that. But I think it's interesting about the sleep and the like stress levels with men. I wonder if I wonder why that would be, because I almost feel like women also have a lot on their plates and they're typically more of like, if they have kids, they typically can do more with children than the men do. I mean, I'm generalizing so much here, but yeah, that's very interesting that you see that.
Yeah. So what I see in my practice is a lot of women are actually more open to the nervous system regulation techniques and their ability to succeed in that seems to be more attuned to the feminine. But whenever I work with men, sometimes I really do struggle with getting them on board with the stress mindset, like really getting them to understand how their stress and their nervous system is affecting their gut. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And why do you think there's that like block there to fully understanding that?
I think, we could go deep with this, but I think there's a lot of pressure for masculinity and for maybe not being as open to some of these more like feminine energy techniques, right? Like acknowledging our emotions and how we're feeling in certain moments and how we can be at ease. And that's also okay, because we live in a very masculine society, right? And so in this masculine society with men, working with men specifically, that's what I've noticed. Yeah, they tend to resist relaxation or calming their nervous system.
Yeah, I can see that. I also think there's hesitation from men in general, again, to health and wellness in general, to do anything, right? Like I've seen this in myself. Like when I was seeing a wide variety of clients, majority were women, like majority were women. And the women in those conversations would be like, they would bring up their partner and say, "Oh, like, what do you recommend for him?" And I'm like, why isn't he here? Like, why isn't he being a part of this discussion? And there is that hesitation of like, I don't know. It's very societal. It's very, like you're saying, like society is very masculine based. And the idea of men doing self-care or wellness can be kind of looked like frowned upon, I guess. And so the idea of like a man taking care of his gut health, is just not what we see a lot of. It's getting better again. But now that you kind of like point it out like that and explain it, like I can really, really see how that would be true in the gut health space as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And it really goes back to those root causes, right? I mean, of course we know, like, as you mentioned, don't want to overgeneralize, but in general, women have so many things on their plates and they are living like in this masculine world, but needing to try and balance the feminine with the masculine. And there's a whole lot going on there. And there's a ton of nervous system dysregulation with women. But in general, they seem to be, just more open to concepts and ideas of emotional regulation and really accepting that and diving into it and trying to improve it. And so when we're working on root causes, that one people seem a bit more open to, and women specifically.
Yeah. I also wonder if there's like digestive symptoms that are more prone to either gender. Like I think of my husband, for example, and he is prone to constipation. And I've seen this in my brothers, like when I've talked to my dad, like other men in my life. And I'm someone who's never struggled with that. Like it's not a symptom I've ever had problems with. And I just wonder if there's that type of thing as well of like, constipation is, holding on to things. That nervous system is like tightly wound. You're stressed in the gut, like, less of a energy flow throughout the body. I don't know. I'm like, I could be like pulling from thin air here, but I'm just kind of like identifying the trends that I could see through the men in my own life.
Yeah. I've definitely had male clients, and I typically see mostly women as well, but I have had male clients who do struggle with constipation. I have had them the other way too, though, where it's diarrhea. But I agree, like with constipation and energetically, like holding on to something, like I could definitely see the correlation there.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you also start looking at like Eastern medicine too, and you relate like the colon to the different chakras, to the different emotions. That's also very interesting. And it's like talks about, I think it's like a lot of anger that can be held in that point of the body, and I don't know, like there's just so many different ways to look at it. And it's interesting to kind of like connect the dots, but going back to women, because most of my listeners are women. Are there any like practical or time efficient strategies that you recommend for busy women to support their gut health?
Yeah. Oh, I love this too, because when we're talking about women who are busy, and who have a lot going on, I really, and especially with my clients too, we have to focus on like, where can we get the most bang for our buck, right? And I always try and have people think of the things that they're doing every single day. And we're sleeping every single day. We're drinking fluids every single day. We're eating every single day. We're consumers. We're consuming things every single day. Okay, there's 4 things right there that we can optimize that is sure to make a difference in our gut health, right? So we can work to make sure that we're optimizing our nighttime routine so that this way we get more quality restorative sleep. Because if we're not sleeping well, we're not healing. That's our body's opportunity. That's the digestive system's opportunity to heal, right? So that's like one good way that we can start. Hydration. Make sure that we're actually hydrating our cells correctly. Most women who are busy are not drinking water. I would say majority of my clients, when they start with me, they're drinking close to just a liter or 32 ounces of water a day. And they believe that that was enough, you know? I know that one gets me every single time. Nutrition, right? So we're eating, optimize the nutrition, focus on more whole foods, make sure we're getting 2 colors on the plate, make sure we're hitting our fiber goals, our protein goals. These are like easy wins for people. They're just like little changes, right? If we can just optimize these routines, right? Then we can make a huge impact. Like I said, we're consumers, we're buying things, we're ordering things off Amazon, we're ordering online. Start ordering better products. Start ordering more low tox products, things that you clean your home with, the things that you slather on your body. Start looking at those ingredients and start making sure that you're paying attention to what you're putting on and in your body. So I feel like those are just, if we could go over a few, those are a few quick wins. Focus on the routines you're doing every single day. And first, just focus on optimizing them, right? Because it's habit stacking. If we can optimize what we're already doing, it's a lot less difficult than starting a new habit altogether.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's such an important one. And even with the products, like when you start learning about the toxins that are in these products and how they impact your gut health and everything, you can kind of have this sense of, oh my gosh, I need to throw everything out and buy everything new. It's going to be so expensive. But someone told me this I forget, she had this like cute little saying for it, but essentially just when you are finished when you replace it with something better. So if you just bought a new shampoo and it's toxic, so be it. Use it for the next however long. But the next time you go to buy shampoo, look at the ingredients, actually become educated, and then make a healthier, like more low toxic decision.
Absolutely. I think this is a great plug for the EWG too. They have the Skin Deep database. I'm sure you use it too. I run everything through there. There's also the Yucca app that has been really helpful for my clients as well. They can actually run the barcodes through this app and then get a good health rating on it. If it's going to be higher toxin or lower toxin load for the product they're looking at. They do it for food, cosmetics, cleaners. It's a really nice app to have.
Do you have trouble recalling names, dates, or where you left things? I definitely have experienced this. Wouldn't it be nice to feel clear-minded and energized all of the time? I know you want this, and I definitely want this as well. Bioptimizers has created a one-of-a-kind product called Mushroom Breakthrough that can supercharge your brain power. It's packed with highly concentrated mushroom extracts that science shows enhance memory, focus, processing speed, and more. Just one serving contains 5 potent superfoods like collagen and 1.2 pounds of 4 concentrated mushrooms, including lion's mane, reishi, cordyceps, and chaga. This cutting-edge blend is a powerful way to rebuild your brain and rewire it for maximum energy, focus, and performance in less than 30 days. After each serving of Mushroom Breakthrough, your ability to memorize and recall information will improve, and you'll get a hefty dose of antioxidants for immune support. On top of these incredible benefits, it's also delicious. It tastes like a rich chocolate elixir. Sip our smooth, delicious drink daily and notice your thinking gets crisp fast. Simply mix it with water or milk and enjoy. Or for a more potent blend, you can mix it with your morning coffee to transform it into a delicious mood-boosting mocha. Don't miss out on the brain-boosting power of this amazing new product. For an exclusive offer for my listeners only, you can go to bioptimizers.com/biohackingbrittany and use code biohackingbrittany at checkout. The great thing about Bioptimizers is that you can try it risk-free and you can use their 365-day money-back guarantee. So head over to bioptimizers.com/biohackingbrittany. Try it now to sharpen your edge and reach your potential. I actually think I'm going to go make a cup right after this. Nice. Yeah, I use the EWG a lot.
Love it.
Especially, now being pregnant as well, like going through looking at things, even like diapers and wet wipes and like all of these things, these new.
Can we just like segue for just a second and talk how toxic everything is?
It's so toxic. And it's like all of these new products you suddenly have to have. And then you're like, oh, wait a minute. Okay. This has like dye in it and this is going to cause diaper rash. And this is going to you suddenly start like learning about all of these things in the diaper industry. And you're like, wow, okay. Oh no. Yeah.
Yeah, you do. You have to be so careful. And I think you're totally right too. Like it is overwhelming, the actual detox of your routine. But when we're looking at the products, I totally agree with you. Just as you run out, replace it. Not this, something better. Okay. And then that tends to make it a little bit less overwhelming for people. And in the beginning, what is the thing that you use most? Right. And it's usually things like body lotion, your face creams, things like that, So if you're, cleaning a shower once every 2 weeks, maybe we focus on wearing a mask and gloves, but maybe we finish that chemical product out, then move to the next one. Or, what are we using the most of? And then that's what you should change first.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think now, thankfully, there are just so many resources out there to help people make more conscious decisions about what they're buying. So thankfully, we don't really have to do the heavy lifting as much anymore.
Totally.
When we have things like the EWG, which is just a database and you can look up the product and look at the rating. Yeah, it makes it very easy. I'm curious if you kind of come across any common misconceptions about gut health, when you're in your practice. Do you kind of hear the same things, or maybe there's a trend going around where you have to like debunk it and you're like, oh, I'm tired of hearing about this.
Yeah. There's so many, Brittany. So one, just real quick, we already touched on like food sensitivities a bit, but the food sensitivity myth, oh my God, the food sensitivity tests, they have a place when you're starting your health journey and you're trying to figure out what is causing inflammation or an immune reaction in your body. But people get so caught up on these tests. They feel it is the end all be all. And I have to explain, it's not the food that's the problem. We need to figure out where the breakdown in the lining, why it's happening, and then fix that. But I do feel like the big myth there is that the food is the problem, right? And it's not. And then as far as another myth that I see a lot, let's talk about parasites, if we could just maybe touch on those, is that everyone, needs a parasite cleanse X amount of times per year. You have to be really careful out in the health and wellness space. Parasite cleanses have their place and are extremely necessary for certain clients and for certain symptoms, but they should be used with a practitioner with the knowledge who can tell you if that is what your specific microbiome is in need of. And I think one thing that a lot of people forget is that we all have parasites. We all do. What is the landscape that they're living in? Is the landscape hospitable? Is it doing well for the parasites? Is it allowing the parasites to become a big problem? Of course, there's exceptions to that. There's certain parasites we absolutely want to get rid of. But I also think it's important to touch on that if we have a healthy gut microbiome, we can keep a lot of these parasites that a lot of us have, we can keep them at bay.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good point. I went through parasites a little bit at one point around when I was having these gut health issues. And it makes sense. Like there was no way that I was in a healthy enough state or my gut was robust enough to be able to deal with parasites like that. So I think, I think you're spot on. Like there is no avoiding us being exposed to parasites at some point in our life. However, we can like be in control of how healthy our gut is for the most part, so that when that does happen, we react in a healthy way. We can sustain it. It's okay. We like our body can react and deal with it appropriately. And it doesn't cause this massive issue and imbalance and inflammation.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's the big thing. Colon brooms too are another one that just drive me insane. We can establish a healthy microbiome and healthy peristalsis without, or healthy movement of stool through the intestines without a colon broom. We don't need to wipe out everything on the rag.
Oh, interesting. Is a colon broom? I haven't actually heard that term before. Are you referring to like enemas or what is that?
No, it's like a complete clean out. So where
Oh,
you actually like laxatives to clean everything out is the concept behind it. But when you're doing this, it's hard on the digestive system. It can be harmful to the bacteria. It can disrupt the balance within the microbiome. You might feel good initially because you wiped out the good, but also the bad. So you feel good initially. But then you find yourself down the line, symptoms are back, you feel bad again, you think you need another colon broom, and you get caught in this cycle of needing to do this over and over again, versus if you just would have addressed the imbalance in the first place, you wouldn't need to be on this roller coaster of colon brooms.
yeah, I've actually never heard that term before. That's really interesting. And it makes sense that it would also wipe out the good bacteria. You know, I was actually going to ask you about like these cleanses that we see so often, or even like a candida cleanse, like candida overgrowth. Okay, take these supplements and like do this cleanse. And I think there's a time and place for cleanses, but I don't know. I still think that the daily, healthy habit checklist, for day in and day out is much more impactful than let me do this 48-hour, colon cleanse or candida cleanse.
100%. And let's go on that. So let's say that you definitely do have a candida overgrowth and you happen to throw spaghetti at the wall and it does stick. And you were right about the symptoms. You were right about the candida. You come in with the cleanse. You do the cleanse. You feel better. What were the root causes? How did we end up here? And after the cleanse, are you just going to end up back with the candida overgrowth again because we didn't fix our lifestyle and the way that we're eating? And we didn't come in and actually heal and seal the gut lining and repopulate good bacteria and support with nutrition and lifestyle. So that's where it comes back to like that three-prong approach. And we have to remember as consumers, marketing is smart. Marketing is smart. And so we have to be careful about the products we're using and not to use them blindly.
Yeah, no, that's so true. And it's again, like my view on candida is very similar to the parasites is like, we all have a little bit inside of us. We probably always will. You're going to be exposed to it, but what are you doing to let it get out of hand or keep it in control? And I actually think the same way for things like even the vaginal microbiome. Like when people have, like I have a friend who gets UTIs all of the time, and she'll take the over the counter medication again and again and again, and then I was like, or like yeast infections, same thing, and it's like we're always going to be exposed to different types of bacteria, even on the skin microbiome, vaginal microbiome. But like, how do we take a step back and keep that area or keep our bodies healthy so that it actually doesn't matter? Like you actually can be exposed and you can bounce back fast enough. And, I know her very well and her lifestyle is not, not very healthy. And that's, whatever, that's it's her business. But, I would love to see her do this like 360 approach that we're talking about. And whenever she'll send me supplements because she'll get ads, right? Like on Instagram that say, oh yeah, like, fix it with this cranberry supplement or whatever it is. And I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe, but you're partying all the time. You're super stressed with work. Like you're stressed about finances. Like you live in a probably moldy apartment, like all of these different things.
Right. That's the problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So it's hard. it's really hard for people who are not in the health space like you and I. Like, we're so deep in it every single day. This is part of our careers that like you see the health decisions all of the time. But for the average person, like they don't think like that. Like they don't think, oh, how is my lifestyle impacting my vaginal microbiome? Like they're not making that connection on like a daily basis. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of these lifestyle choices are like quote unquote normal. And you're almost, when you choose not to live in that normal lifestyle, you're almost a health deviant, right? Like we're deviating from the norm. And it's almost like sometimes scrutinized to live a healthier lifestyle. So, I mean, that's also a problem, right? Is that people don't realize how bad the choices they're making are for their health because it's considered normal, right? If everyone else is doing it, it must be okay. And really, we have to, as health deviants, take a look at the herd around us and decide if we want to go in the same direction that the herd is headed.
Yeah, exactly. So how do you, like, what do you say to your clients, or what piece of advice can you give to our audience who maybe struggles with coming up with that, like coming up against that of, oh, I know this is healthier for me, but everybody around me is doing the opposite. Like I'm going to be left out. I'm going to be, looked at as like weird or judged maybe by friends and family. Like what can we say to those people that can really encourage them?
Yeah. I think having a strong why is the first step to that, making sure that you know why you're headed down a healthier path, and also honoring yourself. Respect yourself enough to respect your decision for a healthier lifestyle. And that's kind of a deep concept for people to sometimes grasp. And it requires a lot of self-work and some journaling, which is some things that I do with my clients is, why do we want to get better? Let's actually think about that. What would it mean to you? How would it change your life? And then in those moments where you're feeling a little bit nervous about asking for something specific at a restaurant, you go, you know what? My why is so strong and I feel so empowered by it that I know that it's worth it to continue down this path, even if sometimes it's uncomfortable. And your path inspires others to take the same path.
I totally agree. Yeah, I find the deeper the why, the more motivated the person. And so like what that means is if your why is, oh, I want to look fit, or I want to fit into this size of clothing, then a lot of the time there is a deeper reasoning behind that too. But that why cannot necessarily be motivating enough. But when your why is like, wow, I've seen my family members become very sick and take years off their life because of their lifestyle. So I'm actually going to choose something different so that I don't end up like them or something like that. It's almost like the people who have parents who are alcoholics and then they never touch alcohol a drop in their entire life. Like very similar concept of like when you have something so deep and ingrained in you and it's very emotional, sometimes there's like trauma attached to it. It sounds bad, but like sometimes that is the best motivation to actually be healthy today, is rooted in that trauma or that hardship that you went through.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree more because it is, I mean, as painful as some people's experiences have been, their life experiences are really what lead them down a really dedicated path.
What would you say like one of your whys is right now, like post, you've had 2 kids, like I'm sure your whys have probably changed over the years, but like what would you say one is right now?
My kids, I want to show them that living a healthy life can provide you with so many benefits other than just looking good. I want to show them the energy that it provides me, my ability to show up for them emotionally and physically matters so deeply to me. And so that's a big part of my why. It almost makes me emotional because I feel that I commonly run into that in my practice as well, is a lot of moms feel like they can't show up for their kids because they're so sick and they feel so bad. And that's one of my biggest whys. I want my kids to know that there is a better way to live and that they're so capable of it because they watched their mom and dad do it.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. And as someone who's pregnant, like I could only imagine how guilty and how much shame I would feel if I was sick and I couldn't be there for my kids. Like that would be heartbreaking. Even if I was not somebody who was educated in the health space, like that would be very emotional and very hard. And so I love that you said that. And I think you probably saw it. There was this trend that was going around on Instagram and TikTok a few months ago. And I forget the exact quote, but it was something like the health of a mother's health has a direct impact on the health of her children. It was something like that. And it was all of these like videos that people were making with that quote. And it was these moms like working out in different ways. And sometimes the baby was there in the gym or they were on a walk or like drinking water, whatever it was. But it was actually so cool to see because it was like, yes, like you have a direct impact on how healthy your kids are. Like there's research behind it. Like you can do that. And not to say you have to be this super fit, crunchy mom all the time, but like you have an influence and like use that to your advantage.
And I think it comes back to show them that it's okay to prioritize yourself, to prioritize your own health, and and it comes back to you don't have to be perfect, but in general, 70, 80% of the time, are you modeling to your children that they matter, that you're yourself as a human, that you matter? So if you're showing your kids that your health matters, they're going to believe that their health matters. And they're going to take that into adulthood, and then they're going to share that with their kids. And it's that whole ripple effect that happens. So it becomes easier and easier for each generation. So it might be harder for us as sort of this generation that cares a lot about our health and our wellness, but it'll get easier with each generation that follows.
Yeah, that's such a good point too. Like like you were saying, like there's this sense of respect there. Like I think of like my parents growing up and my dad was a runner, but then I think of my mom and I'm like, oh, what was she doing for like fitness or self-care when she was raising us? And then I think, oh, I actually don't know. Like she's a really great gardener and maybe that was it for her. And like, maybe this is a discussion that I should have with her of like, what was it like when we were kids? How did you show up for yourself? And now as a new mom, I want my kids exactly like you're saying, like to respect me and see that like, wow, mom's taking care of herself. I'm so proud of her. Okay, I'm going to take care of myself as well.
Yeah, we have to be the example. We have to show them the norm because they're not going to see that norm out in society. It's just not there. They have to get it at home.
Yeah, I love that. And I've been thinking about this quite a bit. We're building a home gym right now. And, this is like so in the future in a few years. But I think about like, how can I incorporate kids into this home gym? Like, how do we start this tradition of like family workouts and like put up monkey bars and swings?
I love that.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And so like you make it a part of like your family values is like being healthy and exercising because it's exactly like you said, like that is not what they are going to experience or see in society very often. So we have to be so intentional of like, let's create it ourselves.
Yeah, because ultimately, whatever we see in our family growing up is imprinted in our brains as normal, right? It's not until we get to college that we find out maybe some of the things my parents did were weird, You don't realize it until you're an adult. But if you have these good habits and maybe they're not considered normal whenever you become an adult and you see how other people live, but because it's a good habit and because it's taken care of you thus far, it's a habit you're going to keep, whether or not it's deemed, not normal in society.
Exactly. Do you have any tips or recommendations or maybe things that you've done with your kids about gut health and how you've kind of ensured that their gut is robust even from such a young age?
Yeah. Movement, hydration, and nutrition, as well as sleep. Those are the most important things that I focus on with my kids, making sure that they're getting enough fluids. I feel like it's an under talked about topic is like not kids not hydrating, right? They're moving constantly, they're playing sports, they're running around outside, and a lot of them aren't actually hydrating well. And we have a big constipation issue among children. The other kind of aspect to that is nutrition. Most kids aren't getting enough fiber, and they may be picky about fruits or veggies. Ask your kids, what fruits or veggies do you like? Let them try different things. Let it be like kind of a fun exploration for them. Find the ones that they like and start rotating those in the diet. That's something that I had to do with my daughter because she's picky and we were cooking things and she wouldn't eat it. And so we just said, well, what do you like? And then we started incorporating more of those into our diet. It made it a lot easier for dinner. There were less fights and she ended up getting a lot more fiber into her day. Now, my 18-month-old doesn't have much of a choice on his dinner. Yeah. But, as we head into 2 years old, I'm sure he'll get more picky. And then, movement, making sure that your kids are moving. They're not plopped in front of the TV during the day all day. Get them outside, get them moving, get them playing in the dirt. The dirt is good, if we're not playing in, pesticides and things like that, to an extent. But playing in the dirt is actually really healthy for the microbiome. That's actually how we build our microbiomes as children. And since a lot of children are playing outside as much, they're not getting their hands in the dirt. They're missing out on a lot of really key bacterial species that are just in that dirt. So I think it has a lot to do with those things I mentioned.
I love that. Those are such good recommendations. And that's so, so true. Like playing outside, being exposed to all of that healthy bacteria, even like going for a hike with your kids, being in the forest, they're exposed to a ton of bacteria, going to a park as well. And, we live in such a sanitized world now where we're sanitizing all of the time, especially after COVID. Everything is so clean. And that actually has negative consequences on our microbiome. And it can, obviously wipe out the good guys, the good bacteria as well. So that's applicable for children. And I love this idea of playing in the mud. I've seen many people like build or install like sandboxes in their backyards for their kids. And I think that's such a smart idea, just to like have them exposed to dirt and sand in like a place and have the toys and stuff is like really cute as well.
Yeah, no, I love that. The only thing you have to be careful for is cats. Just cover it so they don't get ringworm or anything. But I love the sandbox idea. It's something I've been toying around with putting in the back of my backyard under some trees. But I think it's so cool. And it's like a gentle way, especially for like younger kids, to introduce them to playing in a dirt in a safe place, right?
Yeah.
I love that.
No, that's a really good point. This has been such a great discussion, and I just have really appreciated all of your tips and tricks and insights as well into motherhood, especially as I go into it now myself. If people want to work with you and become a client, how can they do that and how can they reach out?
Yeah, go ahead and reach out on modhealthco.com. You can click apply to work with me. And if it aligns for both of us, we can get started. I do have a freebie that I'd like to offer. It's the Mod Gut Guide. So we talked about some of those more basic principles today on like what you can start doing now to start improving your gut health. I've got 6 strategies on that guide that are really helpful if you're just starting your gut healing journey and you are a little bit overwhelmed, you don't really know where to start. That's also a great start as well.
Nice. I love that. Yeah, that's such a good idea. I will link that in the show notes and I'll put it on my website so everyone can find it nice and easily. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This was awesome. And I know so many people are going to get a lot out of it.
Thank you so much, Brittany. I appreciate you.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Biohacking with Brittany. If you're interested in finding the show notes or the sponsors for this episode, you can do so on my website, which is biohackingbrittany.com. Remember to follow me on Instagram where I'm most active. My handle is @biohackingbrittany. And if you're interested in working together and you want to email me directly, you can do that. My email is info@biohackingbrittany.com. And I look forward to hearing from you and having you tune in next week.